Hi everyone, it's Eddie here. Eddie Makes Art. We're doing a little gel printing today. We're going to make some MudCloth prints. I'm using a brand new stencil from my friend and fellow designer, Paula Keene. We both designed for PM Artist Studio. But first, I'm creating some backgrounds, and I want a more of mottled look of the background, M-O-T-T-L-E-D. I think that's how you spell it. And what I want to do is create 3 or 4 backgrounds to then come back in with the stencil and lay the design of the stencil onto the background. And for these prints, I'm not using tissue paper. This is medical exam paper that comes on a roll. It's not tissue, but it's not carnival wet strength tissue. So, it's kind of an in-between, but it works really well on the gel plate. In order to get the mottled look, what I'm doing is I'm dotting the paint all over the plate, and not overbraying. I'm not really mixing the paint. I'm just trying to get an even coat of the paint that's on there, and then do some quick pulls. This is my 32-pound color copy paper that I use to pull, gel prints with. So what I'm doing here is creating more backgrounds with leftovers on the plate. Fortunately, there was some gunk on the plate. I think it was just like a dried piece of paint that fell out of the bottle. Got to be careful with those. Sometimes I forget to I try to go fast, and I forget when I open the bottle of paint, I don't take off any of the gungy bits that may have been in there. For this next print, I'm gonna use Liquitex Unbleached Titanium, which is really cool, like a buff color, and this Arctic Blue, which is one of my favorites. It's Lucas Krill paint. And I'm intentionally making the backgrounds lighter because I'm going to do the design on them with the darker color to give it a nice contrast. There'll be a follow-up video to this video showing you what I created with all these gel prints that I'm doing today. So stay tuned for that. That'll be out in a day or two. Now here's that awesome stencil. This is MudCloth. And so I put down a layer of burnt umber and then just put one of the backgrounds over it. And I'm using my knuckles here to get all that good paint up through the design and create this really cool print. Easy as that. Don't you love it? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, I don't like to waste paint. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to put down a piece of paper and pick up this ghost print, which is what you call what's left behind on the plate when you pick up the stencil. That is a ghost print. Another print, filled up the whole page. Is perfect. And let's do a print in black too. This is Liquitex Mars Black. And again, just put the print down over the stencil. I like to use my knuckles because it gets into those nooks and crannies much easier than just like a flat palm or a Baron. how great that looks. And it's easy. Look at, I mean, I'm making these prints like in no time. So it's definitely something that anybody, any gel printing level can do. Let's pick up this good stuff too. Isn't that a great pattern? Very, very cool. It also comes in a foam stamp. There's actually a couple of versions of this stencil. There's one that's laid out that's great if you want to create journal pages, and there's one that's slightly different. Go under Paula Keen or type in MudCloth, and the design will show up in all its variations. Now let's turn our attention to the last two prints that I pulled, and I'm using some hooker green here and Prussian blue. Mix those up a little bit and use that color on one of the lighter prints. Here's another way you can do it. Use your paper towel, and that can help you to rub the paint and it won't come off on your hands. But be gentle. This is sped up a little bit, so it looks like I'm going super fast, but the video is sped up. But yeah, just take your time. Let's do the other one, the other print. And for this one, I'm just going to use some copper to give it some shine. All right, let's take this stencil and clean it off on this paper. Now, there's already paint built up on my stencil, so I'm not worried about the paper sticking when I do this. If you're going from one layer of paint of a brand new stencil or a clean stencil onto a plain piece of paper with no paint on it, you got to get it off of there very quickly. Otherwise, that paper is going to stick. Oh, and here's my friend Becky's Pop Dot stencil. This is a very popular one. So I'm adding some of these Arctic blue dots over the green print that was left on the plate, the ghost print that I picked up on the color copy paper. And for the pull color, I've chosen just aqua green because it works really well with copper. And just be aware that these prints that are multi-layered, you have to let them dry completely. Otherwise, you're not going to get everything up. This print probably dried for about 3 or 4 hours on the plate because I wanted to make sure that everything came up when I pulled the print. Because when you have that many layers, you got to give it time. Otherwise, you're just going to leave chunks of paint behind on the plate. But see how cleanly that came up. You got to have some patience with this sometimes. Isn't that great though? Great shine, great color, and loving the pattern mix. Now for this one, I am going to create a glaze using some azo gold and turquoise in the golden fluid acrylic paints. And these are both transparent paints, but I decided to do a side-by-side color and I thought it would make a really interesting blend with the pattern that's from the stencil MudCloth. And these are quick pulls too. This is real time gel printing right here. Did not need to sit on the plate that long. But look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? Amazing, amazing, amazing. I love it. Let's do it again. So I'm going to do the same technique for this particular print. It's great results. These are two paints you got to have in your stash. The golden fluid acrylic in the azo gold and the turquoise. They're transparent, they're fluid, and they leave a beautiful sheen on your print. Now I have this other print here where I rubbed the stencil onto the paper, and I wanted to do something a little loud, so I just picked this primary yellow. It's not transparent necessarily because it doesn't say so on the bottle, but most yellows are transparent or semi-transparent. So the design will show right through. Isn't that cool? Can you imagine that as fabric for a dress or something like that? Now for this one, I am creating the glaze with some airbrush acrylic medium and the turquoise blue. And I'm using a brayer off to create this one for the glaze to go over. But what the airbrush medium does is it extends the drying time, but it also gives the fluid acrylic a kind of a watery kind of vibe and a little bit of a gloss too. Thank you guys for joining me today. I had a lot of fun. Again, stay tuned for part 2 of this video where I use these prints to make some really cool stuff. Thanks again. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. I will see you very soon. Bye, everyone.